All right, guys, it's Miss Thomas, and your worksheet from this Friday that is due Monday that you seem to be having a little bit of difficulty with, and that's okay. I'm going to show you a couple more times how to do this, how to balance chemical equations, and it'll be okay. It looks a little scary. It'll be a little bit nerve-wracking the first few times you do a balancing equation, but it's okay. We're just going to take it one step at a time. So if you have your worksheet with you, I'm going to start with number 3. That's this one right here. The NaCl, F2, NaF, Cl2. First thing we need to do is make sure that we're counting all of our atoms. So just like we did on our worksheets earlier in the week, we need to write out what elements we have. So we have Na, sodium, Cl, chlorine, and we also have fluorine. So we have Na, and then Cl, and then F. And we have those on both sides of the equation. So let's make sure on my equation, NaClF, both sides. So let's count how many atoms we have on each side. There's no number next to the sodium, so that means we only have one sodium atom. So let's put a 1 here so we can keep track. There's no number next to the chlorine either, so that means we only have 1 chlorine. Okay. Fluorine has a subscript next to it, number 2, so that means we have 2 atoms of fluorine. All right, now let's check the product side. Again, I do not have a number next to the sodium, so that means I just have 1 sodium. Now for chlorine, I have a subscript of 2, so that means I have 2 chlorine atoms. Let's write 2. Fluorine, I don't have any numbers next to fluorine, so that means I just have 1 fluorine atom. 1. All right, so we're looking. We need to make sure that the atoms on the reactant side match up with the number of atoms on the product side. So sodium, we have 1, and we have 1 on the reactants and product side as well, so we're good. Chlorine, we have 1 on the reactant side, 2 on the product side, so those are unbalanced. We need to check those out. Fluorine, we have 2 on this side and 1 on that side, so those are unbalanced. We need to check it out. So on the worksheet, the chemical equation is NaCl plus F2 yields NaF plus Cl2. So let's figure out how we can change these coefficients, these blanks. What do we need to put in the blanks so that both sides of the equation are equal? Well, we're not going to miss the sodium because they're equal as they are right now. So let's skip those and go to chlorine. I only have 1 on the reactant side, but I have 2 on the product side. So I need to make more on this side. I want to try to get 2, so look for chlorine. I need to put a coefficient of 2, and that makes the chlorine atoms change to 2 atoms, because remember that coefficient gets distributed to everything. So that means, we got to change our sodium as well. We no longer have just 1 sodium. Now we have 2. All right, so that's 2 sodium, 2 chlorine, 2 fluorine, 1 sodium, 2 chlorine, 1 fluorine. All right, so our chlorine is balanced, but now everything else is out of whack. Let's keep going. This is okay. This is how we do it. So let's check out the fluorine. We have 2 on this side, 1 on that side. Let's change that so that we have 2. I'm going to put 2 in for the sodium. That 2 goes to the sodium and the fluorine. So now I have 2 sodium and 2 fluorine. See how that is? You have a coefficient so that gets multiplied by everything next to it. And now you can check. Okay, I have 2 sodium, 2 sodium, 2 chlorine, 2 chlorine, 2 fluorine, 2 fluorine. This is a balanced equation. So you need to make sure on your worksheet that you have 2 and 2. It is not necessary to put 1s in front of the molecules. It is understood that if you don't have anything there, it means just 1. Let's do another one, just so that we can be sure that you get it. Let's do a little bit more of a complicated one that involves some parentheses. Let's do number 10. Number 10 on your worksheet is iron, Fe, and chlorine, sodium hydroxide, yields, don't forget my underline, FeOH3 plus NaCl. Okay, so we've got some subscripts with parentheses, so it looks a little scary, but it's not too bad. First things first, we always list what elements we have. First one, iron, Fe. Second one is Cl, chlorine. Then we have sodium, Na, oxygen, and hydrogen. So we have 5 elements. Law of conservation of mass says that we cannot create or destroy mass, so we have to have the same on the other side. All right, so let's do our counting. We don't have any numbers next to iron, so we only have 1 there. We have a subscript next to chlorine, so that means we have 3 chlorine atoms. No subscript next to sodium, so that means we only have 1. None next to oxygen, so that's 1. And none next to hydrogen, so that's still 1. So we have 1 of everything but chlorine. Now let's check out the product side. Iron doesn't have any. Let's do chlorine. Let's stay in order. Let's do chlorine. Chlorine is over here. It doesn't have any numbers next to it, so it's 1. Let's find sodium. Here's sodium. It doesn't have any numbers next to it, so it's 1. Oxygen. We're back over here. Now we're in the parentheses. Remember, when you have a subscript outside of the parentheses, that subscript belongs to everybody inside the parentheses. So that's like saying there's a 3 next to H, there's a 3 next to O. So oxygen, I have 3 of them. Hydrogen, I have 3 of them. Okay, let's check out what we have. We have equal number of iron, and we have equal numbers of sodium, but that's it. That's all we have equal numbers of. Oh, and I think our video froze. Sorry about that. Let's keep going. So we have equal numbers of iron, and we have equal numbers of sodium, but that's it. That's all we have. Everything else is different. We need to make them equal. So let's start with chlorine. We have 3 on this side, 1 on this side. We can easily change this so that it's 3 and 3 by adding a coefficient of 3 here. So that's going to make my chlorine turn to 3. But it's a coefficient, so it belongs to the sodium too. So I need to change my sodium to 3 as well. Okay, so we have the same iron, the same chlorine, but we have different sodiums now. All right, so I want my sodium on this side to equal 3 as well. So let's find sodium. Let's give it a 3. All right, so now I have 3 sodium, so let's cross that out and change it. Watch out though, that also goes to the oxygen and hydrogen. So let's give 3 to the oxygen. And then let's give 3 to the hydrogen, so times 3. So 1 of iron, 3 of chlorine, 3 of sodium, 3 of oxygen, 3 of hydrogen. And if you'll notice, on our product side, we have 1 of iron, 3 of chlorine, 3 of sodium, 3 of oxygen, 3 of hydrogen. So our equation is balanced. On your worksheet, you should have a 3 in front of the sodium hydroxide and a 3 in front of the sodium chloride. Make sure each time you do a problem, you write it out. It is not easy to do these in your head. Let's do one more just to make sure we have it. And then the rest is up to you. Okay, let's do number 20. Number 20 is NaBr plus CaF2 yields NaF plus CaBr2. Oops, there we go. Okay, let's line up our elements. We have sodium, bromine, calcium, fluorine. We got to have the same on both sides. Sodium, bromine, calcium, fluorine. Sodium, no numbers beside of it, so it's only 1. Bromine, same thing. There's no numbers beside of it, so it's only 1. Calcium, no numbers beside of it.
Mr. Chucky, please come to Ms. Watkins' office. Mr. Chucky.
No numbers beside calcium, so it's only 1. Fluorine has a 2 next to it, a subscript, so it has 2. So 1, 1, 1, 2. Let's look over here. Sodium, no numbers next to it, so it's 1. Bromine has a subscript of 2 next to it, so we need to make sure we mark 2 bromine atoms. Calcium, no numbers next to it, so it's only 1. Fluorine, no number next to it, it's 1. So we have the same sodium and we have the same calcium, but we have different bromine and fluorine. So let's start with the bromine. We have 1 over here and 2 over here, so I need to increase the bromine over here. I need to make it 2, so let's give it a coefficient of 2, and that changes the sodium to 2 and the bromine to 2. All right, so 2, 2, 1, 2. We got our bromines equal, but now everything else is not. So let's come back over here. Let's make our sodiums back equal. I have 1 over here, 2 over here. I need to make this one a 2. So let's give it a 2. So that makes 2 sodium and 2 fluorine. And looky there. It's balanced. 2, 2, 1, 2. Everything is balanced. So on your worksheet, you should have a 2 in front of sodium bromide. and a 2 in front of the sodium fluoride. Like that. Watch this as many times as you need to so that you can get enough practice. Email me if you have questions, please. And this is due Monday. Have a good weekend.